So one of the biggest questions I get asked is, am I in the right relationship? And is that relationship actually good for you? And how do you know when to end a relationship that's potentially bad for you? But one of the things that I think people misunderstand about happiness and emotions in general is the difference between what an emotion actually is and how we tend to view them. So a good example is if you ever speak to somebody who's, a little bit more senior or longer along in their life, they'll typically talk about their life with regards to different moments. So if you ever ask somebody what was the happiest they've ever been, they're typically going to give you a moment in time. They'll tell a story, an anecdote. Maybe it was the birth of a child. Maybe it was the last time they had fun, some exciting time with a partner, something along those lines. And people very rarely, if at all, I don't think I've ever met anybody who has, very rarely talk about their lives in chapters. So they don't typically talk about their life to say, well, from 1998 to 2002 I was extremely happy, and in 2003 I was never happy from that point. People in retrospect tend to understand just instinctively that emotions are moments. They're moments in time. But when we're collecting those moments and in real time and when we're present, it's very easy to think about those moments with regards to chapters. It's very easy to say I'm in the chapter of discontent within this relationship, or this is not a good relationship, or if this person can just achieve a certain goal, then I'll be happy within that relationship. And what you do in that circumstance is you tend to put your emotions into chapters. So you're basically saying, I will be happy when. I will be happy when this person does this. I'll be happy when we get married. I will be happy when such and such happens. And the problem is that that's not how happiness works. So if you find yourself in a relationship and you're wondering whether it's the right relationship or a relationship that you should be in, you have to fundamentally ask yourself about how many happy moments it's provided you. And are those happy moments in the present? Like if you're always expecting, if something just happens, I will be happy at this point, it's probably time to examine that relationship. You don't want to put your happiness in the future. You want to see it as a moment that's very achievable for you and very achievable in real time. Again, if you say, I will be happy when he gets his act together, I'll be happy when she does this or that or the next thing, then you're not really experiencing that happiness in the moment. You're setting it off into the future. And inevitably, people who are not happy very rarely achieve their goals. Like if you think about it with regards to achieving anything, maybe some weight loss, or maybe you want to be more motivated to go to the gym, or there's some form of goal that you're trying to achieve, you're much more likely to achieve it if you're motivated, happy, if you're grateful for what you have and you're keen to move forward and get more of that. You're very unlikely to achieve it if you create a kind of stumbling block to say, well, I will be happy when I lose 30 pounds, or I will be happy when I'm able to run 2 miles. The problem with that is that happiness is so far in the future that you're very unlikely to achieve it. You're not going to be motivated to achieve it. Same goes for relationships. You want to ask yourself, am I happy now, and will I be happy tomorrow? And if the answer to those questions are yes, then that's probably a good relationship. It's one you want to stay in. And if the answers the answers to those questions are no, I'm not happy now, I won't be happy tomorrow, but I may be happy at some point in the future, it's probably worth examining that relationship and seeing if that relationship is actually something that is going to make you happy, or that happiness is just a fantasy that you've set somewhere in the future. And again, as we talked about in our last video, narcissists are particularly good at creating that anticipation of happiness in the future, because initially maybe the relationship was happy. Maybe the love bombing stage of the relationship was something that you really did find happiness and pleasure in. But when was the last time you had that happy moment? And are you in a point at this point in time where any other happiness is so far in the future? If they can just get it together, if they stop drinking, if they just act a different way, if this happens, if that happens, if you've got that based in the future now, then you have to ask yourself, how soon are those happy moments going to come? If it's tomorrow, if it's next week, maybe that's worth waiting for. Maybe it's just a small change that person needs to make. But the chances are, if you're not happy now and you can't see yourself being happy tomorrow, it's time to maybe examine that relationship and figure out if it's the right one for you.